hammered, and Billy Martin and the Yankees want the bat. Look at Martin.
Well, what they're talking about, Frank, is that he's got too much fine tar, and you've got to have a certain amount of distance from the trademark of the bat and the fine tar.
And Nettles is leaving the field as if the game is over. Albie's just coming in.
I'm not sure. They might have a legitimate gripe. They might be going to call George Brett out.
Well, he's out.
Yes, sir.
Brett is out. Look at this. Brett is out. And
Team is mad.
he is out and having to be forcibly restrained from hitting plate umpire Tim McClellan.
And welcome back to Too Much Pod Tar. I am your host, Alex Keeler, as always. And here to talk some MLB Draft, Kimbrel signing with the Cubs. And just in on last night, Dallas Keuchel was signed with the Braves. It only took 7 months and 2 days for Kimbrel to sign, and 7 months and 4 days for Keuchel to sign. And since then, a lot has happened. You know, Tom Brady won a 6th championship. The average price of gas went down 50 cents and then only to rise back up again. And the Royals have lost 43 games. And also the Yankees didn't sign either Bryce Harper or Manny Machado. But first question here is going to be just, do you think these, Kimbrel and Keuchel are going to be as effective as they were, like when they had full seasons? Or, obviously it might take them a little while for them to get effective. They haven't pitched in months, since last September they haven't pitched. I mean, obviously for Kimbrel was all the way up till the World Series ended, but these guys are definitely going to be a little bit, not too ready to get pitched yet. But I don't know. Do you guys think it's going to take how long it's going to take for them to, get into season mode? Who wants to go first? Johnny, what do you got?
Yeah, I think Kimbrel. They're already talking about him starting off in the minor leagues for a week or two. So I think it's going to take him a little time. Supposedly, Keuchel has been pitching simulated games like 90 and 100 pitches, according to Scott Boras, who was his agent. So who knows, if that's accurate or not. But with Keuchel, I think Keuchel can step in within the next week and pitch a few innings for the Braves. And that's a great signing for the Braves. I mean, they were a game and a half out of first place. They won the division last year. This is the time to make their move. It's a huge thing for them, especially with their young staff kind of struggling. Fultonavich hasn't had the success he had last year. So I think signing Keuchel, getting someone who's a Cy Young Award winner, getting someone who's got playoff experience, who's got a World Series ring, stuff like that. It was a great signing for them. And for the Cubs, getting Kimbrel, it's definitely a great signing for them because that was one of the weak points going into the season anyway. And Pedro Strop has been, they expected Moreau to come back, and he's had a setback. So they've had issues in their bullpen. Getting someone like Kimbrel, even if they have to wait a couple weeks for him to come full circle and get him back to what he was, they're looking at the playoffs anyway. Mm-hmm. So I think getting Kimbrel back, even at the end of the month, full strength, you're talking about one of the best closers. I mean, you're talking about a top 10 closer all time. Yeah. So I think that's not going to be a problem. And it was a great signing by them. I mean, as a Twins fan personally, I wish they would have signed one of these guys, but, it didn't happen. Mm-hmm. Oh, well,
Yeah, I think sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to add that the Keuchel signing is also reportedly $13 million for 1 year. So that's, now at this point, I didn't think it was going to be 1 year, but that's what happened.
I think with the Craig Kimbrel signing, I think the Cubs just won the NL Central. And
that's what I think too.
The Cubs the bullpen was the weak part of their team. I don't take the Pedro Strop slander, but he's an eighth inning setup guy. He's not a closer. I'll say that. I think when he goes back into his role as a setup guy, he's going to be a lot more effective than he was as a closer. I think Craig Kimbrel. I think it'll take Dallas Keuchel actually a little bit longer to come around back to where he was last season than it will Kimbrel, because Keuchel is going to have to deal with if he is starting games right away. He's going to have to deal with going through the lineup to the second and the third time, and that's when pitchers statistically get hit the most. And if he hasn't pitched in however long in an actual game, then it might be even harder for him to do that. Whereas Kimbrel is just going to have to come and make some important relief outings, but he's not going to have to go through that lineup. So either way, for both teams, it's a good signing. And Dallas Keuchel is, he's an innings eater. He will eat innings for you once he comes back around. He threw over 200 innings last year, and people are saying he got worse. I mean, he did get worse, but his ERA was still under 4. And a year ago he was a 2.9 ERA, so he's still a great pitcher.
Yeah, I have to agree for sure. I have to agree with what Gio's saying. As far as Kimbrel and the Cubs, I mean, he said that the Cubs, this pushes them over the top. I mean, they were kind of over the top anyway. They've been kind of rolling with this division lately. I mean, I know it's only like they're only technically one game above the Brewers right now, but they are, is in my mind, far and above everybody else.
Well, actually, I think it's
anyway.
As of Thursday, they're actually tied, Cubs and Brewers. But
oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm looking at old standings then, probably.
Yeah, they both. Yeah.
This is a team that's just now starting to click on all cylinders. The Cubs are,
Mm-hmm.
with Bryant finally getting into closer to MVP form. Baez, of course, already being an MVP guy. Guys like Contreras starting to hit like crazy. I mean, this team is already loaded, and like Gio was saying, that's the weak spot on their team is the bullpen, and it's not like him. I love Strop. I love the guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's maybe not a closer, quote unquote, but he's a solid bullpen arm. And as an eighth inning guy instead of a ninth inning guy, I mean, it's just deepening the bullpen that much. And I mean, that's the one piece that they needed, and you can run away with 3 guys in the back of the bullpen. I don't know how people feel about Cishek, but I like him too.
Oh yeah, I like Cishek.
So I mean, they've got.
Yeah.
I mean, if they've got Cishek and Strop being able to be solid bullpen arms for them that don't have to be the closer, that's just a really deep bullpen now, and that's the dominating force at the back end of their pen when they go into the playoffs. So I really like their chances this year to definitely push and win the Central, and maybe even make some really big noise in the come playoff time. But yeah, the Braves, that's a trickier one with Keuchel. I'm not a huge Keuchel guy. I'm not a huge fan of him. I think, like Gio said, he's an innings eater. And I mean, he's a good innings eater. It's not like Rick Porcello for the Red Sox. It's not that kind of guy. But
he's better than Porcello.
Yeah.
It's the same idea though. And like the thing is, the Braves rotation, they've been kind of iffy, but they're deep in their rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And so
the young guys have come around.
Adding a guy like Keuchel, the leadership factor there, that's a pretty big deal. And so, I mean, it's just a question of who are they going to push out of the rotation now? Are they going to go 6-man, or are they going to kind of spot guys around here a bit? But as they have a few weeks probably to play with it, because like Gio was saying, yeah, he's probably been playing 90, 100 pitch simulated games, but that's nothing like pitching in the major leagues.
These things, true. He's not going to come back and just dominate like his Cy Young year, but he's got, if he can even eat innings. I'm not entirely sure I love Dallas Keuchel in the NL East, honestly. I think the AL East would have been a bad spot for him too, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm not mad the Yankees didn't sign him. I think
I was hoping the AL Central.
The AL Central would be the best place for him.
That's
Yeah.
why I was hoping the Twins would sign him.
Yeah, because I
I
think
was because he fit perfectly in target field.
yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
He would fit perfectly with that rotation. I mean, someone with experience going with Odorizzi and Barrios and like those guys, like he would have been a perfect fit.
And when it comes to divisional opponents, the AL Central, they don't have a lot of power in that division. They don't even have a lot of good hitting in that division.
They don't have a lot of good teams in that division.
Yeah.
No.
The AL West is the same way.
The extent of the power in that division is just like Hunter Dozier for the Royals maybe, and then you got Lindor if he starts hitting like he was, but it's not. That would have been the best place for him. I think he could have dominated, or maybe not dominated, but he could have been a good pitcher in the AL Central. But in the NL East, I don't like him there.
Yeah, I don't like him there either. But I still don't like Atlanta for the division either.
No, I don't. I like the Phillies.
The one weird thing was though, I thought the Braves would have went after Kimbrel more than they did with Keuchel. I thought it didn't really seem like they went after Kimbrel that much at all. They definitely need more bullpen help than anything.
That's true.
Yeah, I agree with that. And especially since Kimbrel started there.
Yeah.
He was drafted by the Braves. You know, I would have thought they might want to take him back, like get him back in a Braves uniform for the next couple of years, and whatever. But oh well. Sometimes
and I mean, all the fans were saying they wanted him back too. So
could I bring up something slightly off topic, but relating to the NL East real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So I was thinking, I'm like, what team, if they get hot, is every team going to be afraid of? And it's going to be the Washington Nationals. Like, everyone keeps putting their eggs in this basket, and I'm going to do it again. I think they're going to get hot soon. And I forget who said this, an analyst on MLB Network said, what rotation is scarier in a playoff series than Game 1, Game 2, Game 3, Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin? I mean, maybe the Dodgers with Ryu, Kershaw, and Walker Buehler. Yeah. Those two rival each other, but other than that, there's not really a scarier top three in baseball. At least that's been consistent.
I am such a believer in the Nats.
Me too.
I picked them to win the division.
Me too.
I picked them to win the World Series.
I did not do that.
I actually picked them to play. I picked them against the Astros to win the World Series.
I think Dave Martinez is just probably the worst bullpen manager in the league.
He's horrible.
Yeah. It said everything that we needed to say when he was about to pull Max Scherzer from his outing, and Max Scherzer was just cursing at him. He's like, "No, I'm not coming out. I'm not letting the bullpen blow the game for me again." And you know what?
No.
The other day, it was a great outing for Anibal Sanchez. He threw a great game. Wander Suero comes in from the bullpen and blows Sanchez's good outing when Sanchez had only thrown 82 pitches. Like, what are you doing, Dave Martinez? Yeah,
Dave Martinez needs to be gone. And if the Nationals don't make the playoffs this year, with Anthony Rendon, who's one of the most underrated players in the major leagues, Anthony Rendon, Trey Turner, Victor Robles, Juan Soto. Yeah, and you have Scherzer, Corbin, and Strasburg as the top three of your rotation, and you don't make the playoffs, Dave Martinez needs to be fired.
I would have liked to see the Nationals.
Easily. I'm sorry. I could manage that team and get them to the playoffs. That's ridiculous.
That team could manage itself better than Dave Martinez is doing.
It's ridiculous.
They need a player manager right now because it's just bad. But if there was any NL East team that should have gotten Kimbrel, I actually think it should have been the Nationals with all their bullpen struggles. They weren't even in talks for him though. I didn't hear one report about Kimbrel even talking to the Nationals. So I don't know what their front office is doing.
Yeah, but
I don't know what their management is doing.
They have so much money. The Lerners have so much money. And they have, granted, they don't have a lot of draft capital anymore, like as far as like minor leaguers and stuff.
Yeah.
But you know what? They're going to play to win. And the Nationals have gone 8-2 in their last 10 games. Don't sleep on the Nationals. Exactly. Don't sleep on the Nats because with Scherzer, Corbin, Strasburg pitching, 3 out of every 5 days, man. Don't sleep on them.
How about
Where
if
they
Anibal
can't get
Sanchez
hot
pitches
and-
like last year?
Yeah, I don't know about Sanchez, and I just can't believe the guy.
He pitched a great game against the White Sox. So if all these guys can put it together, and they've been hitting, they're up 4-0 right now against the Padres in the second inning. They've been hitting the ball. So if they can just mix everything, then
that's the key. They got to hit as a team.
Right.
You know, and not only that too. A lot of them mistakes came on the base pass and fielding. Like with Robles was horrible in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
Base running errors and throwing the ball to the wrong base, and like he was just, just using him as an example. But the Nationals, I think will get the ship righted, and the Nationals, on paper, they're the best team, arguably in the National League.
Yeah,
they're the best team.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say the Dodgers. I'd say the Dodgers over them right now, but on paper, the Nationals are there.
I think even if they're a first-round exit in the playoffs, Dave Martinez should be fired.
Yeah,
I agree. What team in the last several years has shot themselves in the foot more repeatedly than the Washington Nationals? I mean, they can't get out of their own way to win games.
I know, it's crazy.
They need to win a series. They need to do something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is gonna be off topic again, but like, I just want to talk about some stupid Yankees fans. I'm like, Yankees Twitter is just so stupid sometimes. Like, people, all these Yankees fans are coming out saying like, "Oh, let's go get Scherzer," and saying this shit. Like,
no,
what do you think that? Even if the Nationals wanted to trade Scherzer, which they won't, he has 2 years of control. Then even if they wanted to do it, what do you think they're going to ask for him? They're going to ask for, it'll take like someone like Gleyber Torres or Sanchez or
even Florial. Let's go give up Florial and Gleyber Torres for Estevan Florial, who's the Yankees' top prospect right now, outfielder. So let's take the top prospect and then another young player for a pitcher who's good, but he's in his 30s. It would be a win now move rather than anything. And that's just stupid for that.
The Nets aren't trading Scherzer.
No.
I don't understand. Mm-hmm. This is the thing. I understand what you're saying, Alex, like on Twitter and stuff. I don't understand how this got legs. Like how
who came up with
even
this?
Started.
It's just
the Nets are not trading Scherzer.
Did Jason La Canfora start reporting baseball or something?
Like what? Why did this even start?
Yeah, I don't know. Like,
all right, so the Dodgers are trading Kershaw. Like, how did this even? How did this whole thing even start?
It's not like the Nationals are out of it either. Like you said, they can still got hot. Like
the East is
yeah. Like why did I don't understand why Yankees fans think that they're gonna like trade everybody or people are saying they're gonna trade Rendon too. Like
right.
Why would they do that?
Rendon would be more believable.
I don't think so.
Because Rendon's on a last year deal. Rendon's a free agent at the end of the year. At least Scherzer has control for 2 more years. Do you know what it's going to take to get Scherzer? Are you kidding me? You're talking about the best next to Kershaw, the best pitcher of the last 5 years.
I think Scherzer's better.
I mean, honestly, it's going to take. It's the conversation is going to start with Torres or Sanchez. Mm-hmm. It's going to start that way.
Yeah.
And then it's going to say, all right, Torres, Florial, Abreu, it's going to go that way. Yeah. Because you're not getting Scherzer with 2 more years of control. You're not getting Scherzer without giving up your top guy. It's not happening. It's not. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. This is exactly why I hate the Yankees fan base as a Yankees fan. Like, it's like all these fans make us look bad.
They think
Like,
the Yankees fans think they can get whoever they want on their team. Like I've seen mock trades for Scherzer. They think that they can trade. They literally think they can trade like Clint Frazier and some low-level prospect for Max Scherzer.
Yeah.
There was
Yeah,
They
right.
think Clint Frazier is like,
Clint-
who's
hey,
Clint Frazier? The
Clint
next coming
Frazier
of Mike
can't
Trout?
DH in the NL. Clint Frazier's going to have to play the field in the NL, and that's a scary sight. So good luck
Oh
with
yeah.
that.
And,
Well, not only that, they think like Clint Frazier and Miguel Andujar.
Yeah.
There you go. That's like the big piece. Like that's going to like the Nationals.
Right.
Really?
No, it's going to take a little more than
yeah,
that.
then there
buddy.
was like,
Sorry.
then there was like, and then I think there was like Greg Bird in there too. It was like, wow. Like, why would the Nationals trade for Greg Bird?
I don't
I
think
don't
the
think
Nationals
they're
would.
team enough
I don't
to
think the Nationals
take
would
Greg
trade
Bird.
a bucket of baseballs for Greg Bird at this point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really.
What
What
are you doing? Like, no, like
No.
I said, dude, it's going to start with Torres or Sanchez.
Yeah, and if
That's the conversation starter. And then it's going to take, all right, we want Sanchez, Abreu, Florial. Like, it's going to go to that. There's no way that Frazier and Andujar are going to get Scherzer.
yeah,
That's not happening. It's not happening.
No. All right. After that little rant about how stupid Yankees fans are. I mean, not including myself, but
yeah, I don't identify as one of
myself or
them.
Gio.
Well, there's two Yankee fans talking, so.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I know Soupy would say the same stuff too.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, as the resident Red Sox fan, I'm saying, hey Yankees, if you want to trade your farm for Scherzer, go for it.
yeah.
I'm all for it. Let's do this.
I would hate
roll
that
in
if
all
I
of your
saw a
best players.
trade. If the Yankees
aging
ever
pitcher.
trade Gary Sanchez, I might cry. Like I
Oh,
love Gary
yeah.
Sanchez. He's like
And
he
then-
used to be. I used to
I
like
have
be
to
such a
say-
critic, but
Watching the game tonight, Sanchez has really worked on his framing, on his
Oh, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
just his
definitely.
defense as a whole has
blocking.
gotten better. Yeah,
his defense has really improved. I'm actually impressed.
and he's
Yeah.
got the best arm statistically in baseball, the strongest arm. So
Yeah, that's always been the case with him.
right,
That's part of why he's stuck there for so long, is that they know that arm can play.
yeah, exactly.
And the other thing too, this year he has 19 home runs, and that's in like whatever 18 less games than everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sanchez is a beast.
Yeah.
He's a beast.
If he can learn to lay off the low and outside sliders, then he'll be such a better player too.
Oh
Because
yeah.
That's his biggest
Say
chase
that about
pitch.
more than half the MLB though.
Right, exactly.
hmm
So if that's his one fatal flaw, then oh boy, you're really hurting.
Yeah, exactly.
Sanchez is Piazza without the average.
Yeah. And he's hitting what,
That's what he is.
265 right now? That's not terrible average.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, I'll take a 260. If you're
In
going to give me
today's
40
game?
home runs from the catch spot,
Yeah.
I'll take 260.
Today's game, no problem.
You know,
I'll take 260.
Yeah, I'm all in.
Yeah.
I'm all in for that.
Yeah.
Dude, like I said, he's Piazza without the average.
Right.
It's basically what he is right now, because Piazza was the same way back in the day. He wasn't a great, they didn't do pitch framing back then. But, I mean, he wasn't a great catcher as far as defense goes. But Piazza
Was it Mike
he gets the
Piazza
shit
that
out of the
was
ball, dude.
was it Mike Piazza that was drafted out of a favor? Like Tommy
Yeah.
Lasorda, like
Tommy was
Right.
sort of favorite to Mike Piazza's father,
yeah.
Yeah.
who they grew up. Tommy Lasorda's son. Tommy Lasorda's son or something. That was like a friend of theirs, and Tommy Lasorda was like his godfather or something like that. They grew up like around the block from each other. So he drafted Piazza as like a favor to Piazza's dad. He got drafted in the 62nd round, 1,390th overall.
That's got to be the best value pick of all time.
Oh,
Yeah. Definitely.
not even close, dude.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he and Ken Griffey Jr., who was drafted first overall, they both went in the Hall of Fame
In the same year.
last year,
Yeah.
the same day. Like,
Did we just lose
it's
Cody?
incredible.
Yeah,
Lose
he
Cody.
got cut off again.
Hall of Fame stuff. I can go on and on, but
Yeah,
we'll save that for a few months.
I can go
We'll
on and
save
on
that for a
about
few months.
Barry Bonds and Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame too. So
agreed.
Yeah, they should.
Yes, they should, Gio, without a doubt. And I can go on and on about that, but that's for a different show.
Oh yeah.
And that'll be, trust me, the Hall of Fame, once the ballot comes out, oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
We'll be going more into that like we did last year, the Hall of Fame
yes.
profiles, but definitely going to go into that. I'm going to be all over people this year, all over people, not putting people in. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to start calling people out.
Mhm.
Because some of the Hall of Fame stuff is ridiculous.
I know. It's
Oh,
Scott
crazy.
Rowland? Are you kidding me?
I know.
Andrew
seriously.
Jones? Are you kidding me? These guys aren't. Andrew Jones is one of 4 players to win 10 Gold Gloves and hit 400 home runs.
Yeah.
The other 3 guys are Mike
Mhm.
Schmidt, Ken Griffey, and Willie Mays.
Hall of
Are you
Fame, Hall of
kidding
Fame,
me?
Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Are you kidding me? And this guy gets like 5% of the vote, barely stays on the ballot. There's something wrong here.
Yeah, I don't know who's voting for that. Like, honestly, how do you not put Andrew Jones? Like, how is that not something
I don't know.
that's like
I don't know,
majority?
dude.
If you can put, I don't understand that. I really don't.
Yeah, I don't
What do
get
they
a lot
not
of it.
see? What do they not see in Andrew Jones that they see in everybody else that they?
I don't get it either. I'm not saying Andrew Jones is Mike Schmidt, but
No, but he's
Mm.
you know, he's a Hall of Famer though.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
You know, so is Scott Rowland. So is Larry Walker.
Mhm.
These guys are Hall of Famers, in my opinion. And you know,
The Larry Walker one has to be that people are just judging his numbers just because he played in Colorado for several years, which is a bogus reason.
It's going to be the same thing for Nolan Arenado too, because
Oh,
Nolan
definitely,
Arenado.
yeah.
well,
Yeah.
Todd Helton.
Yeah,
Wait till
Todd
Todd
Helton,
Helton
too.
gets on the ballot.
Right. And that's just such a joke. So it's like if you get drafted or if you play for Colorado, well, I guess you're not good enough to be in the Hall of Fame just because you played
Yeah.
81 of your 162 games in Colorado.
Yeah. What does honestly, Larry Walker? First of all, Larry Walker was a great fielder and a great base runner in Montreal.
Yeah.
He played for the Expos. I mean, you know, like what does this guy have to do? Dude, he hit like 370 in Colorado. I'm sorry, but look, if you're a 300, 400, 500 guy, you slash that for your career or even close to it. I don't care where you played.
Yeah.
If you can do that in the major leagues for a good 10 years, 15 years, you're a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
That's why Edgar
Sure.
Martinez is a Hall of Famer.
Oh, yeah.
300, 400, 500, you slash that, there's no argument. How can you argue that?
I have a Hall of Fame question for you guys. I know we're getting off on a little bit of a tangent.
Yeah,
but-
sorry about that.
No, it's just I just got a quick question. I have a certain player in mind asking this. Do you guys think that having a great glove is a good enough reason to be in the Hall of Fame? Like you're a good hitter, like a 270, 280 hitter, 15, 20 home runs, but you win gold gloves every year. Is that good enough to qualify for the Hall of Fame?
If you're,
It
I
depends.
mean, you kind of got to be like Ozzie Smith type territory where your glove is just so ridiculous, especially in a position of need, like catcher, shortstop, center field.
Yeah.
If you're just saving runs left and right beyond all comprehension, and you're hitting with any decency whatsoever, like you're just even just an average hitter, but you're just a ridiculous glove, and you do that for several years, I think that's at least worthy to be considered.
Because I've got Andrelton Simmons on my mind right now.
I was just going to say him.
Yeah.
And I would say
Yeah.
yes. I would say yes if he does it for another couple of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's got to have a little longevity.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But yes, I was, and that's why I think Yadier Molina. I disagreed with the article Marcos wrote.
I did too. Yeah,
Oh yeah, me too.
Yadier Molina is a Hall of Famer.
absolutely.
If
There's no
we
doubt
were-
in my mind. I would vote for him 11 times out of 10.
Yep.
I don't-
Exactly, and
Yeah.
he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Because let's put it this way: Yadier Molina has changed. He's a top 5 defensive catcher all time.
Easily, yeah.
All time. Johnny Bench was the best catcher ever. And there's no question, to my mind, there's no question.
No,
You can look up the stats. You can, if you want to argue it, go ahead. But Johnny Bench, to me, is the best catcher ever. Yadier Molina is the best top 5 defensive catcher. Framing wise, Fangraphs started looking at that too and put that in there, F4 and everything like that. Molina is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as what he does, and the greatest thing that I saw about Molina is that the Cardinals, their pitching staff, their ERA is .75 higher when he doesn't catch.
yeah.
And that just speaks to, and he's caught for 16 years. So we're talking about big enough sample size.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
he can hit the ball too.
Well, and he's a good hitter. He's a hitter like Ozzie Smith.
Right.
Ozzie Smith wasn't a great hitter. Neither was Omar Vizquel.
Barry Larkin.
Barry Larkin was a little better.
Look, I mean,
Barry Larkin had a little more. Yeah, I give Barry Larkin a little more credit for his hitting than Smith or
fair. Yeah.
Vizquel. But
I don't think that you can argue against Molina. I don't think you can argue. I mean, Simmons is definitely someone, even if he has longevity, that I could see people arguing against. But I mean, like, when it comes to how many runs you've saved, that's such an overlooked stat because that's games that are won and lost based on a play that you made. So.
Oh, Simmons is best. Top five shortstop all time.
Yeah, and he's underrated. He's so underrated. Like, you could ask someone to name. I bet you could go up to some random guy on the street, tell him to name their top 10 shortstops, and they don't say Andrelton Simmons.
I'd say Simmons. I would put Simmons 4th behind Smith, Vizquel, and Ripken. Because Ripken was a really good defensive shortstop. Right now.
Right, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Give it another year or two. Well, a couple of years. I might put Andrelton Simmons a little ahead of him. But
what I'm saying though is that I'm saying if you could go up to someone on the street asking about them, top 10 shortstops in the league today, they might not include Simmons just because
probably not.
Because of his hitting.
Well, and that's kind of the Mike Trout West Coast bias, or however you want to put it. He plays for the Angels. They play at night. Well, for my area in Central Time, it's 9:00 at night. For you guys, 10:00 at night then, right?
Yeah.
Almost every night. So nobody sees them, at least not in the East, not in the Central.
Yeah.
Attention to them. They're playing for a less than 500 team, I think, right now, and have been more often than not in the last few years. And so he's just not going to garner a lot of interest among the, I don't want to say average baseball fan, but the guy who's going to, check in on ESPN and watch a game. They're not going to see Andrelton Simmons.
Right. And that's why Mike Trout's an underrated player too. Like, saying Mike Trout's underrated makes some people like, what? But he really is. Like, you're going to look back in however many years and you're going to see you watch one of the best to ever play the game, and Mike Trout. And I just don't think he still gets the respect that he deserves as the best player in the league right now. Like, there's no argument about it. Mookie Betts is not better than Mike Trout. Cody Bellinger is nowhere near better than Mike Trout. I don't care how he's hitting this year. He hasn't had the consistency throughout the first 2 years of his career, and he's not anywhere near as good of a fielder as Mike Trout. He does have an arm, but he is if you can't argue he's better than Mike Trout.
No one's better than Mike Trout.
No.
No one.
No one's better than Mike Trout.
You would not
Yeah.
believe. And this is a
not
fan.
even a question.
This is a
It's not even
fantasy
a
point,
question.
but I mean, you wouldn't believe how many questions. And I know fantasy doesn't match reality, but at the same rate, it's still kind of a measure of it. But you wouldn't believe how many questions you'll see on a Facebook group, on a Reddit group, or wherever, saying, "Oh, I've got these two guys. They're playing real well right now. Should I trade Mike Trout for him?" And it's like, no.
No.
If the question is, should I trade Mike Trout for? Stop yourself right there. The answer is no. Do not trade Mike Trout. Period.
Mike Trout is the best player in the major leagues, and he's been the best player in the major leagues for the past 6 years.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He is the best. That's it. Like there's no question. Like it's not even close.
It's not.
I don't understand when people.
I wish he was in a good market where people could see him every day at 7:00 in the Eastern time. I mean,
Dude, and the thing is too.
I wish he was on the Yankees.
yeah.
He just does these things. Like this is what he does.
Yeah.
Like he's having a year this year. Everyone talks about Cody Bellinger. Everyone talks about Ryu. Everyone talks about like the season he's out. Everyone talks about all this stuff. No one talks about Trout because he's just having the year he always does. He's already got like a 3 WAR.
Yeah.
We're a third of the way through the season. He's like 3.8 or something like that. Like he's 4th in the league or whatever. Like he just keeps doing what he does.
Yeah.
And he's easily the best player in the league. It's not even close.
I can't believe people. I've actually seen people on Reddit. Reddit users are stupid. Actually saying that Cody Bellinger is a better baseball player than Mike Trout.
Oh my God.
No one's better than Mike Trout.
It's like the
Wow.
No one's better than Mike Trout.
no.
Mhm.
All right, so here's an interesting stat that somebody brought to my attention a while back, and I had to look it up now, and I'm looking at it right now. You guys familiar with swinging strike rate, swinging strike percentage on FanGraph?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the times you swing and miss per, I think, pitch. No, I think per swing, something like that. The league average is 11.1% right now. Mike Trout is currently 6th among all qualified baseball players at 4.4%. That means he swings and misses at 4.4% of the pitches that he swings at.
I guarantee you, Mike Trout is top 10 in just about every category that you can even look at. Even if it's metrics, whatever metric you want to look at, I guarantee you, Mike Trout is like. But this is what he does.
All of these different statistics. Oh, there's Mike Trout. Oh, there's Mike Trout. Yep, there's Mike Trout.
Yep, there's Mike Trout. There's Mike Trout.
He's still 27 years old, and
isn't that insane?
if he can play till he's 38 or something, he could be top 5. I mean, he will be a top 5 player of all time, and I mean that's hard to do in baseball. But if he can hit for average power and run the bases, then wow,
he has a 68.4 WAR already.
Yeah, that's Hall of Fame level.
I mean, that's Hall of Fame numbers now.
Right, exactly.
Now
I've seen people in the Hall of Fame with under 40 WAR. So I mean,
you know what's funny? He's got a higher WAR than Derek Jeter.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I believe it.
Not around the Yankee fans.
And well, I had to throw that out there for the Yankee fans. Derek Jeter's a Hall of Famer. And look, when I look at the Hall of Fame, and I'm very much into the Hall of Fame, and I know we're taking this in a different direction again. I'm very much into the Hall of Fame stuff, and who should be there and who shouldn't. Derek Jeter should definitely be in the Hall of Fame, without a doubt. But
Not unanimous.
He is an overrated player.
Also true.
I think his leadership is one reason that he was just the name Derek Jeter, how he led the team.
As far as his talent goes, as a shortstop,
I agree. I as a
Yeah.
Yankees
He
fan,
is
I agree that
overrated.
he's overrated
Yeah.
because he hit for average very well. He never really hit for power. I mean, his career high was 24 home runs. Mike Trout can hit 40 home runs and hit for the same average. So of course Jeter is an amazing defensive shortstop. Mike Trout's an amazing defensive center fielder. So
Derek Jeter was a horrible shortstop.
that is not true.
He was a bad
Well,
shortstop.
average.
as a Yankees fan, I agree. You
He
look
was
at it,
he was not a good fielding shortstop.
I don't agree with that, but
He was not.
He made sparkling plays, but he wasn't overall. He wasn't a great shortstop.
He was
Yeah.
not.
I guess you're right. But I want to correct you. Mike Trout's not ahead of Jeter in WAR yet. Jeter is 72.4 career WAR. Mike Trout 68.4. But by the end of the season, he'll be ahead of him.
Yeah, it's close. But anyway, I'm not taking anything away from Jeter. I don't want you guys to think that I'm taking anything away from Jeter because Jeter was a great player. 3,000 hits. I mean, it's incredible. The captain of the Yankees, and he won the championships, and he was a consummate professional. Like everything he did was a great thing. But
How about,
he's still overrated.
Mike Trout.
Still overrated.
It's not fair to compare their power because I mean Derek Jeter wasn't known for power. No. I'm going to.
I wouldn't compare them.
Mike Trout's only 5 home runs away from Derek Jeter's career mark. So, I mean, there's that. So, I mean, we all know Derek Jeter wasn't a power hitter, but Mike Trout's hitting for average and power. And Mike Trout's hitting 294 with 15 home runs this year, and people are still overlooking him this year. So, I mean, I don't even know. People will never realize how good of a player Mike Trout is until he's retired, I don't think.
Yeah, that's a shame.
Yeah.
That's why I was so glad when Shohei Ohtani signed with the Angels. I thought it would put more limelight on Trout and on the Angels, but still the West Coast thing's hard for East Coast people, and Ohtani's been injured. He hasn't been pitching, so
yeah, that's part of it. I
think,
once he comes back to pitching, I think they'll get a little more interest in him. It's just hard because the team just can't win, and I don't know. It feels like there's something in the water with the Angels and their pitching because there's always guys hurt there.
Yeah,
all the time.
Skaggs and Heaney are 2 of the most injury-prone pitchers I've ever seen. Especially Andrew Heaney. Andrew Heaney cannot stay on the field.
No,
and he's a good pitcher when he's healthy. He's just never healthy to show it off. So
yeah.
It's just, Heaney, Skaggs, and then they could have a really strong rotation right now. If Heaney, Skaggs, Ohtani, those top 3 guys are healthy, that's a good top 3. That's a top 10, top 12 rotation in baseball. So
yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, they're never going to be healthy.
No.
All 3 of them at the same time for one whole season will never happen.
No.
Yeah.
Twins are winning the World Series.
Hard pressed to argue with you, at least with them getting there. I mean, they've just been playing out of their minds, and
Twins are good. They're a good team.
3 tonight. I was watching the
Twins are good, man.
End game there.
Twins are good.
Hoping that he'd get the number 4 and see what happens with that, but he didn't get that. But
I honestly don't think they don't have the talent that the Yankees and the Astros do. But aside from the Yankees and
Sometimes it just
Astros,
takes heart. Sometimes it just takes heart for a team to get there.
Aside from the Yankees and Astros, I think they're the best team in the major leagues. The Dodgers, okay, I'll give the Dodgers some credit. But in the AL, at least, aside from the Yankees and Astros, I think they have the best talent in the AL. So if they can get lucky enough to not play one of them in the first round, I think we got a shot. I think the Twins have a shot.
And is there a better manager right now than Rocco Baldelli? I mean, if he's
been
right now, I'd say he's manager of the year by
Yeah.
leaps and bounds. The way he's handled that pitching rotation, the lineup,
and the
everything the bullpen has just been great. I mean, somebody finally figured out how to just let Jake Odorizzi go through two times through the order, and that's it. You're done, buddy. You did your job. Get out of there. Somebody finally figured that out with Odorizzi, and now he's got the best ERA in the majors right now.
Yeah.
The Twins don't have a good bullpen on paper, but the way Baldelli's managed it, it's a good bullpen. Blake Parker has been good this year.
Oh yeah.
That was a huge pickup for us.
He's not someone that if you ask me to name 10 people that I wouldn't want to face, despite his 3.74 ERA, to get in the box again, I'd put him on that list. He is nasty, Blake Parker. If he's on, because he's on and off, he's hot and cold, but he's a nasty pitcher, and having someone like him to go to is really nice. And before the season started, I mean, no one would have thought the Twins bullpen on paper was good, but it is. So
yeah, I'm worried about their usage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As a Twins fan, I'm worried about all their usage. I mean, I'm not worried about Odorizzi because the starters I'm not worried about because Odorizzi, Barrios, and Gibson can handle the workload.
How about Smeltzer? How about Devin Smeltzer lately? He's been good. Johnny.
See, this is the thing. And
Yeah.
Hildenberger and Trevor, they have to be able to mix and match with these guys.
Yeah.
Because there's no one guy that's their closer at this point.
It's by committee, yeah.
Yeah. So they just have to I don't know how that's going to work in the playoffs. Once we get to that point. Because I'm looking at Division's won. We won the division. The division's over, pretty much.
Yeah,
Unless Cleveland goes on a ridiculous run.
Mm-hmm.
They can't do that if they're not healthy.
Well, Cleveland's strength was their starting rotation. They lost Kluber, they lost Clevenger, and then they lost Carrasco. They're done. Cleveland's not catching its wins. It's not going to happen.
It's not winning a World Series anytime soon either.
No. Unfortunately for them. And,
their window is closed.
The strength of their team was taken away by injury, and their lineup is garbage.
Yeah.
So, we know that from
garbage.
DFS. We know that from DFS. You start the starters that are going against Cleveland. So, I think the Twins win that division. It'll depend a lot, where they finish, as far as how they sit, whether they play Houston or whether they play the Yankees first round, or it's gonna be interesting to see.
I didn't even realize how many guys for the Twins have been stepping up in the bullpen. You got Ryan Harper, who's a rookie this year, 30-year-old rookie. He's appeared 26 times in 24 2/3 innings. He's struck out 23 guys, a 1.82 ERA, and an 0.97 WHIP for someone who's never pitched in the majors before.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting guys like this is the thing that worries me, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that you get guys like that are just okay.
They might
be great now. But playoff time. We got to talk about playoffs.
Well, yeah, that's exactly why I'm worried
Twins
about
win
guys.
the division. Well, we have to talk about a 5-game series, 7-game series. We'll see how these guys roll.
That's exactly why I'm worried about Martin Perez and out of the rotation. He was terrible last year. He was a laughingstock of the Rangers
Martin
rotation.
Perez won't be part of the 3-man rotation.
No, he won't. That's why I'm worried about Tyler Duffy in the bullpen too. Career ERA of 5.32, and this year it's 2.87, and he's striking out guys at an insane clip. But
Perez, I'm not concerned about Perez because he's not going to be one of the top 3 as far as playoff rotation goes.
Right.
It'll be Barrios, Gibson, and Odorizzi as far as top 3. So
you're right to be concerned about the bullpen though, because you got guys that are pitching good this year, but their career ERAs don't
Yeah.
reflect.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Here's the thing
That's why I
to
wanted
consider then.
Kimbrel or Keuchel.
Yeah.
So at least we can see as far as that goes.
Well, if Perez isn't going to be a part of the playoff rotation, couldn't you slot him into sort of a quasi Andrew Miller, Josh Hader type role where he just goes and throws multiple innings on the back
Well,
end?
yeah, he would
piggybacking
be
some of those
at
starters?
that point. Yeah, he would be at that point.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the playoff goes. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
And I mean,
Gibson,
getting him in the
Odorizzi,
bullpen,
and
letting his stuff play out.
Barrios. Yeah, Gibson, Odorizzi, and Barrios would be the top three. Obviously. Martin Perez step to the bullpen as far as the playoff goes. No
I
doubt.
just think that could make him a particular. He could be a weapon then in that case, being able to let his stuff play up in the pen, throw a little harder for a little shorter spurts there.
Velocity stepped up this year.
Yep.
It was weird with him.
Yeah, so let's switch gears here. We can talk a lot about more of this stuff we've been talking about on our next episode, which will be probably Monday. We'll record on Sunday again, like usual. But then let's switch gears here to talk about the MLB Draft, which just ended on Wednesday. It was Monday through Wednesday. And, the first pick was what everybody expected. The Orioles drafted Adley Rutschman. And, the drafts, some teams had really good drafts. Like, we'll get more into that in a little bit too about the teams that had the best drafts, but then other teams didn't have too good of a draft. But the first question here on the draft is going to be like, what team do you think had the best overall draft? And Gio, I'll go with you first.
Yeah, it was kind of hard for me to pick a certain team that really killed it. I mean, the Orioles got Adley Rutschman, which, I mean, he's a pretty good player, but I don't think he's a really good player, but I don't think their draft was just because of him the best. I actually, I like the Padres pick and CJ Abrams. I mean, for those of you who don't know, I'm so sick of people telling me this when I share my articles on draft reviews. You don't draft in the MLB draft by team need. You just don't do it. The guys are so young that you're drafting. They're not going to play as soon as they're drafted. It's going to take, depending on how old they are, between 2 and 5 years to get to the big leagues. I don't care if you have Fernando Tatis Jr. at shortstop, because CJ Abrams won't play shortstop. He'll either be a second baseman or a center fielder. And he'll be like D. Gordon, but with more power. You don't draft guys just because, our team needs a catcher right now. We have to draft a catcher with this pick. We have to reach and take a catcher because it's our weak point.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you won't see that guy for 5 years. So, I mean, what's the point? And then speaking of catchers, I think the Braves pick at Shea Langeliers, I don't know how to say his name. Is it Langeliers?
I say Langeliers, which means it's probably wrong, but.
Yeah, that's how I say it too. Yeah, I don't know how to say it.
I don't know. I think it was Langeliers. I don't know.
And then I always thought Josh Jung's name was Josh Jung, not Josh Young, until I watched the draft. But but Josh Young was a terrible pick, but we'll get into that later. Shea Langeliers, great pick for the Braves, and then followed by Hunter Bishop, who should have went higher than where he went to the Giants. But
Absolutely.
We know how the Giants are developing position player talent. He might be a bust just because of how bad they are at that. I wish they drafted somebody else because I really like him. So hopefully he can pull through. The Nationals drafting Jackson Rutledge should have went a lot higher. I thought he was going to go to the Twins. So Rutledge, good player, big guy. He's 6'8". He was JUCO last year, junior college in Texas. But I think overall, I guess if we're going by one team, which is kind of hard for me to do, I'm gonna give it to the Braves. I think the Braves they hit a lot of points where they I don't know. I think they had a lot of steals in the later rounds. Like I didn't scout much past like the second, third round because there's too many kids to look at. I mean, you'll never see them all, but from what I could tell, the reaction from Braves fans who actually know some of them, it was a good draft for the Braves. I think it was a good draft for the Dodgers. Cody Hose. He spells Cody with a K, so he spells it the right way.
That's right.
Yeah. The kid's got crazy power from Tulane. I was watching some tape on him. He hits moonshots. I mean, and he's a guy that you could see in 2 years probably. And so that was a fantastic pick. I love him. And then they followed it up with another good pick with Bush. But so I'd give it either the Dodgers or the Braves for this draft.
Yeah, they definitely had some solid drafts there, and like you said, it's hard to pick in an exact team since there's 40 rounds. It's hard to keep track of all these players. But the one team I thought had a really good draft was the Diamondbacks. They had with their 16th pick, they got Corbin Carroll.
That was the best pick of the draft. That's what I think.
That's what I was going to say too. He was a projected top 10 pick, and they got him at 16.
Yeah, I missed that. I mean, it would be pretty hard for them to butcher their drafts considering how many picks they had in the top 70. So they did a really good job.
They had 4 picks in the top 64 or whatever it was.
And managing those picks could end up being useful. I mean, with one of their compensation picks at the end of the first round there, they drafted Brennan Malone, which was a great pick if they can sign him, but that's a big if. The good thing is with all those picks, they have all that slot value, which means they have a chance to overpay, quote unquote, Brennan Malone and get a chance to get him. And so to land 2 guys that you could say were like on a lot of guys' boards, top 20 players, I mean, that's a huge win.
Yeah. And then they got seven top 200 prospects graded on by MLB Pipeline in the first round, which was or the first 2 rounds, which was I don't know how many. It was a lot more than all the other teams. None of the other teams got as many top 200 prospects in those rounds, and then they also got 5 more in rounds 3 through 10 that were graded top 200.
Sure, yeah, they definitely. I missed that when I was giving them. So yeah, it's definitely. I changed the Braves, Dodgers, or Diamondbacks. Really, both of them had a great draft. So Diamondbacks farm system is going to be boosted to a top 5, maybe even if they can sign Malone and some of these guys. It might end up being a top 5 farm system in baseball.
I
agree. Definitely. Yeah. So Cody, you got any specific team that you had as the best overall draft?
I mean, like I was saying, the Diamondbacks really killed it with their picks. I agree also with Langeliers. I did a profile on him, and I didn't really know a lot about him before looking into him, and then looking into him, I mean, he's got a chance to have – I mean, he's a quality catcher defensively, and he's got a chance to have at least an average bat in the major leagues. And I mean, if you're talking about a guy that can go there and play a majority of games, having the defensive skills he has and being able to be something close to an average bat, I mean, hopefully a middle of the order type bat, I mean, that's a quality pick there, especially to get it at number 9. I mean, Adley Rutschman's going to be the top catcher that everybody's talking about, and with good reason, but Shea's not too far behind him, in my opinion.
I think he's better defensively.
Yeah, I agree.
He is. Yeah.
All he's got to do is hit 250 and win a couple Gold Glove or 2 behind the plate, and that pick will be very well worth it.
Oh
yeah, definitely. And so next question is going to be just we talked about the best drafts for a team, and then best picks, and then what's the team that had the worst draft, or whether that's some of the worst picks in the draft. Gio, we want to go first?
Yeah, well, I think the Rays started off pretty rough with Greg Jones from UNC Wilmington, but after that they really recovered. They got J.J. Goss, is that his first name?
Yeah,
J.J. Goss, and then they got Seth Johnson with their next 2 picks. I think they hit on those 2 picks, so they recovered from their initial first pick. I didn't even know who Greg Jones was, to be honest with you. So that one wasn't good, but they recovered. But I think easily the worst draft is the Houston Astros. I mean, it's almost like the Astros were drafting by team need or something. Like taking Corey Lee, the catcher from Cal, in the first round, like there were so many better guys you could have taken there. Cameron Meisner should have went off the board. J.J. Goss even. I would have even taken Davis Wenzel over Corey Lee. There's a lot of guys that would go over him. Like, no disrespect to him. He's a decent player, but he's not worth the first-round pick. So I don't know who is making that choice for Houston, but it's like they were these guys on Reddit who were saying that, we need a catcher. Let's draft a catcher.
Yeah.
Yikes. Big yikes there. And then the Cubs didn't have a stellar draft either. But about Jensen, I graded him as a D, but I don't know too much about him, so that's probably an unfair grade. I just didn't love the pick. So Cubs, bad draft. Astros, terrible draft. And I'm just basing that off the first-round picks, honestly, because you can't judge talent from the 16th round. You can't judge talent from the third round, honestly. You don't know what these guys are going to turn into. So the best you can do is judge the first round and the second round, maybe.
Yeah. And one of the other picks that, you mentioned before was Josh Young at number 8 for the Rangers. And that was an awful pick for them. I don't know why they drafted him that high at all.
I did a profile on Josh Young, and he's a Texas kid. He went to Texas Tech. That must have factored in the equation, which is dumb. Because when I did a profile on him, I was not impressed with Josh Young as a hitter. I mean, he plays at the hot corner, which generally requires, a decent amount of power. I mean, I think he hit 11 or 12 home runs this year, and he had a decent average. I mean, he's nowhere near worth the 8th overall pick. They missed out on so many guys by taking Josh Young. There was 15 guys, honestly, I would have taken over Young. I really didn't like him when I did my profile on him. He's a decent hitter, but I don't know if he's going to stick at third. And if he has to move to first or something, that's going to be really hard for him to keep a position there if he's not going to hit the ball. So.
Yeah, I actually was looking into it more, and I read something about how they kind of looked at his past season. He kind of broke out a little bit. His bat came alive a little bit, but I don't know how you can rate it on one season. Like, it could just be a fluke season.
Yeah, we've seen guys like Hunter Bishop, who I did a profile on too. He's just a dominating player. He hits for average. He hits for power. And sure, he went a little bit cold towards the end of the season at ASU, but him being cold, at one point he was hitting .415, which dropped all the way down to 360. So that did worry me. I did put that in my profile that I don't like that huge drop in average because that's a very streaky thing. But if he can hit 360 while having a bad streak, and Josh Young's hitting 320 and having a great year, I don't know how I feel about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, with Young, he actually was the Big 12 co-player of the year, and then I think he hit he hit 332 and then.
Yeah.
But that's just one season. You shouldn't judge it off of his last season, in college. His other seasons weren't nearly as good. So
yeah.
And I have to agree, especially with the Rangers. If you're going to reach for a third baseman, I mean, the Texas thing. If you want to go with the Texas thing, I mean, Brett Beatty. I mean, as a high school guy, and he's got age concerns being 19 years old coming out of high school, but I don't know why that's a big deal. But
yeah,
no, it's not.
I mean, Brett Beatty has a better bat maybe right now than Josh Young does, and
yeah,
I mean, he's younger, he's potentially more talented. Yeah, I don't know if he's going to stick at third, but I think you could say a lot of the same. You could have a lot of similar concerns with Young.
I don't think Young's going to stick at third, so yeah, we'll see.
And so, I mean, if you're going to take a shot, like I had talked about it in my profile when I did the profile on Beatty, if you're going to take a shot on a guy, I mean, Beatty would have been the perfect guy. I mean, heck, there were guys a couple nights before the first round of the draft, people were whispering about Beatty sneaking into the top 3, which I think was ridiculous. But at the same time, kind of went to show the kind of bat that Beatty has and the potential that he has there.
I don't see the problem with drafting a 19-year-old high school kid if you're going to draft a 21-year-old college kid. I mean, how far behind can he really be? He's not. I don't think Brett Beatty's 2 full years of experience behind Josh Young. I think he's right there with Josh Young, and he's 2 years younger. So I don't see the problem with his age.
I don't understand it, but that's baseball for you right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Beatty was a steal. That was a good pick by the Mets. They really had a good draft with him and Matt Allen. That was an underrated draft. Matthew Allen should have went in the first round too. And
I didn't realize they got Matt Allen. Holy cripes! Okay.
Yeah. So actually, I'm gonna refrain on what I said earlier and give the Mets the best draft there. I forgot all about Matthew Allen. So that's just 2 great picks.
That was actually going to be for the next question. It was like you had the best value pick, and that was mine for that.
Oh, sorry to steal your thunder.
No, it's good, but he was rated as I think the 13th, like a projected 13th pick, and then they got him in the 3rd round. It's just like insane.
Oh, it was the 3rd round. I thought it was the 2nd round. Wow.
No, yeah.
I don't know why he fell. If anyone was going to fall, I thought Zach Thompson was going to fall.
I think it was because they're not sure if he's going to sign. That's what it was. Like, it's the same thing with Leiter. Al Leiter.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But Al Leiter fell all the way to, round 20th round, I think. So, because he's definitely not signing. There's no way he is.
I don't even think it was worth taking a flyer on him in the 20th round. There's no way he signs.
Yeah, I don't understand that either. Like, why, like, if he's, like,
why would anyone draft him? If he's so committed to go to Vanderbilt, I wouldn't take him in the 40th round because good talent still comes in that round. And if you're going to just waste a pick, why waste a pick?
Yeah, because it's like if the only way he would have signed, even if I had a chance to, is he went in the 1st round or the 2nd round. If like at the point if it's the 20th round, then he's definitely not signing. Like, I don't know. I just don't understand it.
The Yankees would have to give up so much slot money if they wanted to convince Leiter to sign. The only way they could get him to sign is if they gave him ridiculous money, which he doesn't need ridiculous money. Let him go to Vanderbilt.
Yeah, because I think he was like looking for $4 million or something like that. So.
Yeah, no one's giving a high school kid $4 million when high school pitchers don't work out very often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was my best value pick. So I know you was talking about it too, but do you have any other ones that were good value picks? Both of you?
Corbin Carroll, best pick of the draft. I had him going 11 to the Blue Jays, and he fell to the Diamondbacks. I don't know why. I mean, I think that Alek Manoah was a decent pick for the Blue Jays, but Corbin Carroll, I mean, he's just such a good player. Like, he's got raw power. He's got very good speed. He's got a great glove. He'll stick in center field. He can hit for contact. And a lot of people compared him to Jacoby Ellsbury. I compared him to Andrew Benintendi, but I think he'll be better than Benintendi because honestly, I think Benintendi is an overrated player. But that's another discussion. I think. Yeah, sorry, Cody, but I think.
Can't hear you.
I think Corbin Carroll's going to be Andrew Benintendi with more speed and a better glove. And then George Kirby to the Mariners was another great pick because George Kirby, 0.46 walks per 9. He doesn't give away the free pass. I mean, he paints the corners. He gets hit a little bit. I think he was like 7 or 8 hits per 9, which is a little bit higher than I'd like to see. But if you're not gonna walk anybody, then that's just a great pick too.
Yeah. That's another pick I was going to mention too was Cameron Meisner to the Marlins. I believe it was the 2nd round, but he was projected like 30th pick or somewhere around there, but he fell all the way to I think it was the end of the second round or something like that.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
Yeah, I was kind of mad at the Yankees and pick him at their pick because when he fell, I was like hoping they were gonna pick him, but they didn't. They picked
Anthony Volpe.
Anthony Volpe.
Back-to-back Anthonys in the first round for the Yankees. Anthony Siegler last year, Anthony Volpe this year.
Yeah. And I don't hate that. I definitely don't hate that pick. Yeah, it's a solid pick.
I don't know anything about him at all, so I can't like it or hate it.
Yeah, at first I didn't know anything, but then I looked at some tape and he's pretty solid. So.
Yeah.
He's a shortstop from New Jersey too. So the last kid that was picked by the Yankees from New Jersey, he was a shortstop. What happened there?
Yeah. So who knows? Cody, best value.
There's a lot of guys that I kind of liked. Zach Thompson going to St. Louis was kind of a sneaky, decent pick. A guy that I did a profile on, Daniel Espino.
He fell.
I like his stuff. Well, and it was an interesting deal with the whole. Okay, so he's 6'2", probably, maybe, and just 94 to 97 with his fastball. Can touch 100. Devastating slider. Iffy but okay curve, and changes developing, but that's normal with high school pitchers.
Mm-hmm.
There's been a lot of talk, a lot of concern the last couple years, especially about prep guys, especially prep righties that throw really hard and aren't undersized. And so it was kind of an interesting case study almost to see, is this going to be a guy that is going to fall or not? And sure enough, he fell, at least in my mind. I mean, I could have seen him going in the early teens, even if somebody wanted to take a chance on him.
I thought the Nationals would probably be where he would go, but
absolutely would be a great pick there. I mean, and they got Rutledge, which was another guy that I was kind of could be a good pick for them. Espino's got, because of the size and the delivery's a little, it's not bad. It's just kind of cross body, and it's something that he kind of profiles with average command at best with that delivery as it is right now. But I mean, that's something that you could if you feel good about coaching guys up, you can do that. And I mean, Cleveland's the team to do that. I mean, look at the stuff that they've done with all the pitchers that they have. So, I mean, it's a risk with him. He's got a kind of a reliever profile, but even if he's a 2 to 5 inning kind of guy, like a Andrew Miller, or like a guy who needs an opener type deal, like a Yarbrough or a Chirinos or somebody like that, that's still a valuable pitcher, especially with how hard he throws and the way he can utilize his stuff. So I think it's an interesting pick, especially considering it was Cleveland making the pick.
I'm sick of the Yanni Chirinos getting an opener thing. He doesn't need an opener anymore. I think I just want to see him pitch. No. I think Yarbrough absolutely does. I don't think Yarbrough's, I think he definitely open for him, but Yanni Chirinos is a good pitcher. He can go through the lineup a few times.
I kind of agree. And he's started a handful of times this year already. I mean, he can definitely do it. It's just for some reason the Rays are kind of in love with this whole opener deal. And I mean, they've got guys that definitely need it. Beeks is a guy that they've kind of unlocked, having an opener for him and then letting him go out for 4 innings. But
who did they trade to get Beeks?
That would be Eovaldi.
Oh, right.
So, pretty solid trade on their part.
Yeah, I mean, Eovaldi's been hurt. I mean, he was good for the Red Sox last year, though. No doubt he helped them. So it worked both ways.
Absolutely. It was a shot worth taking, especially considering what the way Beeks pitched for the Red Sox last year. He was horrible.
Terrible.
With a capital horrible. Mm-hmm. So at the time I was kind of like, yeah, sure, that's fine. And now I'm kind of sitting there going, if we had an opener guy for him, that Beeks kid would be pretty good right now. But
yeah. I mean, I heard about Eovaldi. I heard that they might even consider using him at least in the playoffs or something if the Red Sox make the playoffs at the back end of their bullpen or something, someone who could come in and throw an inning, because he's sharp against the first time he faces the lineup. He's almost unhittable. So if you get him in there as a bullpen guy, I mean, that might even be better than him starting. So,
and that was a thing that I know that people had discussed with him when they signed him, because it was a pretty big deal, a 4-year deal, mid-teens per year, kind of a solid deal for him. And so, but he's got the stuff where he could definitely play it. That stuff definitely plays up in the pen. And so if we ended up having to use him in the back half of that deal as a 70-inning guy or even a closer, he's got the skills to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so moving on here to the, next thing. We talked best value picks. We can move on to the next worst. What were the worst value? Worst reach picks of the draft. And Gio, you mentioned earlier Corey Lee for the Astros. He was my. I said he was my worst. The worst reach. Like you said, it was just. I don't know what they were doing there. Like they kind of drafted for need, not for the best overall player. There were so many other players there that were still on the board.
Yeah. I mean, we kind of touched on this reach thing a lot already. I mean, Josh Young, Greg Jones, Corey Lee, Jensen. I mean, there's and with the MLB draft, it's so hard to call someone a reach or a bust in the first round when they're drafted, because you don't know how talent's going to translate. You could think that taking J.J. Bleday at fourth was a fantastic pitch, which I don't. I don't like Bleday, but I mean, you could think that that's going to be a great pick for you, great value, whatever, and he could end up never seeing Major League Baseball. And you could think Corey Lee was an awful pick, and he could be a great catcher in 5 years. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to judge people on what they did in college. It's totally different. I mean, metal bats. We'll see.
Yeah. It's like maybe they saw something that nobody else did even. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. That's the only thing you can really give them at this point. Just toss them a bone because it was a weird pick.
Yeah. Because I didn't even really know anything about him. I was just all of a sudden I see that Astros picking some guy, Corey Lee. I'm like, who the hell is this?
Yeah.
I didn't see him in any projections in the first round. So it's like.
Yeah, me neither.
Because there was Goss was still up there, Meisner, Malone, even Hines, Callahan, Callahan and Lugo, the other shortstops that were still up there that were ranked higher than him.
Yeah.
Well, and you have to wonder, especially when you get later into the first round. I know listening to some podcasts and talking to some of the guys who've worked in drafts and talked with guys that are in the system. Later teams, I think they'll call these kids and be like, hey, here's the number that we're going to draft, that we're going to give you if we draft you here. Are you going to take that? And if they say no, then they'll just move on to the next guy on their board, or they'll just go and try to find a value pick elsewhere and just hope that they can move their slot money around so that the next pick that they make, they can get a guy who's fallen for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And sometimes, I've heard, and you kind of touched on this, but with later picks, I mean, with the MLB draft, it's a lot different than every other sports draft where you're getting that player right away. I mean, very rarely does that happen. It happens on occasion with Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, but they're anomalies. But when it comes to football, that player that you took in the first round is expected to make an impact year one. Basketball, if you take him in the top 15, he's expected to make an impact year one. And same thing with hockey. Baseball, you could take someone number 1 overall and not see him for 3 years. So a lot of teams, they like taking risks, especially if they're picking in the latter half of the first round. They don't mind taking the risk because they know that a lot of other teams who aren't taking risks, they're still not going to see their players pay off either. So why not take a shot on a guy that no one's talking about? And then maybe in a couple of years, he could be someone who's viewed as a great pick. So.
And I think a lot of it also falls into philosophy. Like if there's like 3 guys on the board, but 2 of them are high school pitchers, and well, we don't take high school pitchers, so we'll take the prep shortstop because, well, you know, he's the next guy on our board that isn't a high school pitcher, and we don't want to take high school pitchers because we think they're too much of a risk or whatever. It all depends on team philosophy too. I think when you're looking at the picks that they make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
definitely. I just realized we still haven't gotten Johnny back. I don't know what's happening.
I don't know. I sent in the chat. I said I was like, "Where you at?" or whatever. Yeah, so that was some of the worst picks in the draft. But as we said, it's hard to really garner what the player's going to do. It's hard to assess it, and somebody picked in the take a flyer onto somebody, and they can end up working out. But then other times, even a number 2 pick isn't going to work out, and then or even number 1, they just they can't adjust to the the next level or anything. So, but that's kind of going into my last question here is just what first round selection of the draft has the best shot of making a pretty quick impact in the league.
Quick is in their, I mean, they're gonna see the league in the next year or 2 years.
Yeah, yeah, and have a pretty big impact in the league. Yeah.
Andrew Vaughn, he's someone that has to be.
That was mine.
Yeah, yeah, he's someone that they have to have an impact from him soon.
Yeah.
You're taking a flyer on a guy like Vaughn. Honestly, I did a profile on him too. A lot of people don't like him because he's short and because he might not even have the defensive capabilities to stick at first. But I mean, I disagree.
Mm-hmm.
He's gonna stick. He'll stick at first. But
yeah.
Chris Davis is short, and Chris Davis hits a lot of home runs. So I height in every sport. I mean, with Kyler Murray, I that's a whole different topic. I'm not even gonna go into that. But
mm-hmm.
people talking about height. I mean, come on, really? Like it's like they've never seen a talented player who's not 6 foot tall. I mean, come on. Vaughn's 5'11". Some people say 5'10". Okay, he still hits a lot of home runs, and he's gonna have to make an impact. Jose Abreu, he's hitting the ball.
Mm-hmm.
He's never had a bad season, but he is 32 or 33. I mean, and who knows? Vaughn might come up in DH while Abreu's in his last legs on the team, like before he retires. But Andrew Vaughn's got to make an immediate impact. That they drafted him to not for 5 years from now. They drafted him for a year or 2 from now.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was going to say about him too. I had all that written down, but then you just stole it from me.
I mean, that is an interesting pick. I mean, what does that pick say? If you're a team making that pick as the White Sox,
it says that the White Sox have a good farm system.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Mm-hmm.
Their depth everywhere else on the field seems to be pretty solid. I mean, they've got Tim Anderson, they've got Yohan Moncada. They have your more defensively minded positions kind of not necessarily locked up, but definitely have talent in those spots.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a move I think that's saying, hey, we're getting our big bat. We're getting him now, and we're going to put this core together. And in a couple of years, we're really going to be rolling. I think that's what they're trying to say with this pick.
Yeah, and how about when Michael Kopech's healthy too? And then you got Luis Robert, who's won minor league player of the month both months so far. And he's mashing the baseball. You got good prospects in the outfield, good players in the infield, good pitching prospects. I mean, you're set up for success. Why not go for someone who's going to help sooner rather than later?
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. Do you guys have any more comments on anything in the draft? or
I
like,
don't believe so.
No, I think we covered it pretty well.
yeah, so we started off with, not breaking the news, but, news that just recently came out here on this Thursday night as we're recording this, that, Dallas Keuchel was signed by the Braves. And then just, what was it, last night? Yeah, that Craig Kimbrel, if I could speak, Jesus, he was signed by the Cubs. And, we talked about this before in the show, that I think that
We just lose Cody.
Yeah. But I think that this really puts the Cubs over the edge here, that they're definitely gonna win that division. I think they were my pick early in the season. I mean, before the season, to win the division. I'm definitely sticking that with that now with this signing of Kimbrel.
Yeah, and they were my pick to make the World Series in the National League, and I'm not straying away from that either.
Yeah, and with the Braves signing Keuchel, I think that puts them in a good position to win the NL East too, and the Phillies are kind of, well, right now anyway, are their only competition, but the Nationals could end up getting hot and kind of.
I still think they're going to win that division.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be close. I think it'll be probably a 2-game. I think it's going to end up being like a 2-game difference between those 3 teams. Or something like that.
The Mets, once again, everyone puts hope in the Mets. Mets are going to be good this year, and the Mets are just not good. The Mets offense is just brutal. Like, they have decent pitchers, and I mean, they have good pitchers, and their offense just can never be consistent.
Yeah, I don't know why. What happens? Like, I actually thought the Mets were gonna be decent this year, and then
they're healthy too. They're healthy. So I mean, it's just Cespedes, but he needs to retire at this point. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. They made moves in the offseason too. They got what the hell? I just went blank. Oh, they got Cano and Diaz.
Yeah.
In the offseason, I thought that they were making a move to thinking that they were going to be in position to even win the division, but they just
it's just another bad year, and I think Mickey Callaway's on the hot seat too.
Yeah, he is.
I don't think he's a good manager. Even when they first hired him, I was not confident in his ability. Him, Dave Martinez, both of them are on the hot seat, and you could argue a couple other guys around Major League Baseball, but they're the ones who everyone's got their focus on right now.
Yeah, and I saw some Mets fans on Twitter and Reddit and stuff that were already kind of crying for them to fire him in the middle of the season. So I wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
I don't know. I don't think it would happen. I think they'll wait for the end of the season if anything.
Yeah.
Because I saw something that said that Joe Girardi was a potential candidate for manager or something, but I think that was just Mets fans saying. I don't think it was actually a thing. But
yeah, that's what Mets fans want.
Yeah. Yeah, but anyway, we can get more into that in our, next episode, which I said before will probably be coming out Monday, and record on Sunday. And
as we speak, Mike Trout hits a 2-run home run.
Oh my! Did he? Wow.
Yeah, gotta love Mike
cares.
Trout. Yeah, because everyone's asleep right now.
Yeah, but next episode we're getting closer to the All-Star break and everything, and the voting is now open for the All-Star break, and it's a different voting system this year. You actually vote twice, so they vote once, and then they narrow it down to the top 3 candidates, and then you vote again on those guys. So it's a little bit different this year, but I think we'll see how it goes. I don't know. I'm not too sure on this the whole change in the voting, but we'll see what happens. But
yeah,
but the All-Star game is coming up, and we're really getting to think of things with baseball season, and hockey will be done. Hockey and basketball will be both be done by next week, with hopefully the Raptors and Blues both win.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to see the Warriors win again. I don't want to see a Boston team win again.
Yeah. Boston fans are spoiled enough, so.
Yeah. So, join us next time for another brand new episode, and as we get more into it, dive into more into the baseball season. As we go through the summer, it's all going to be baseball. So,
yep.
Keep an eye out for more articles on the Scorecrow, and make sure you follow Scorecrow on Twitter at the Scorecrow, and Facebook, Instagram, and then also this podcast is available on most of the podcast apps that are available. So, just to remind you again, you never have too much fod tar.